Okay, well, welcome everyone. I'm Gretchen Winters. I'm Director of Marketing for Bursch Travel, and we're really happy to have you here tonight. Excited to talk about Alaska, although I'm sitting here with my blanket because I've been freezing all day. And I'm just tired of cold weather, but cold weather in Alaska is a whole different animal. I was at a seminar that actually Joe, our account manager that's on today and going to do the presentation, it was a seminar about Alaska, and we had the visitor account manager from the Anchorage Visitor Bureau doing a presentation, and it was so fascinating and interesting and exciting. And I just, excuse me, can't wait to get back to Alaska. So we're gonna talk about Princess Alaska and what they have to offer. So tonight I'm going to turn it over to Joe Sieb, who's our account manager for Princess, and he'll kind of walk you through what they offer and suggestions on cruises and cruise tours. And then, like I said, if you have a question, throw it in the chat box. Otherwise, at the end, I can unmute everyone and we can have a little conversation and chat with any other questions you may have. So Joe, I'm going to turn it over to you, and I will mute myself, which a lot of people appreciate when I mute myself. So go ahead, Joe.
Very nice, Gretchen. I do want you to, however, contribute whenever you a thought comes across your mind. Anyway, thank you very much for having me. As Gretchen said, I work with Bursch Travel on behalf of Princess Cruises, and I have for many, many years. Bursch Travel and Princess were really good partners. We've done many, many of these presentations over the years, and the reason we do them, and in particular, the reason we do Alaska ones specifically, is because there's so much that goes into your decision before you get ready to make those plans for Alaska. So by all means, our aim is to try to help you sort through all of the choices. And then after this, we urge you really to reach out, and Gretchen will talk about this toward the end of it, to reach out to one of the Bursch staff to really help make your final plans. So it's an incredibly exciting destination. I just checked, Gretchen, while you were introducing me. It's 8 below right now in Fairbanks. However, it's supposed to be, I need to bring my wife to the airport on Thursday morning. I think it's going to be 5 below. So they don't really have anything on us right now, but it's an incredible destination. Studies tell us, we know this in travel, that there's so much fun in the anticipation of your trip. And so we really urge you to plan ahead, make those decisions, make a booking, make a small deposit. It's a long time before there's any further investment needed or required. And that way you have all of this excitement in your own home planning your vacation, or anticipating your vacation, I should say. So studies tell us that we derive as much, or almost in some cases more, of our satisfaction from the anticipation of their trip than the trip itself. But by all means, we urge you to do that. With Princess, every story starts with our shared purpose. As employees of Princess, our aim, our purpose as individuals and as a group is to share our world. In this case, that's Alaska. Share our hearts, protect the earth, which really means to reduce our environmental footprint, and to create lasting memories. These last 3 words are the real key for our success. And what it really means is that we fully think you're going to enjoy planning your vacation with one of Gretchen's staff, going to Alaska, enjoying all that it has to offer, the scenery, the excitement, the shore excursions, the activities, seeing maybe Mount Denali, everything Alaska has to offer. But when you come home and you share those lasting memories with your friends and family, then we know we've accomplished what we've set out to do. So a couple of things as we get started. Health and safety, of course, is really top of mind for almost all of us. So I'd just like to share a couple of thoughts. Several things that we've done, and we've done quite a few different things. I'll just point out 3 that kind of jump out at me. Number one, by virtue of our Ocean Medallion class cruising experience, we've developed a really nice staggered boarding. So when you go to the pier, you typically, in the past, you probably experienced where you stood in a long line and it took quite a while to board the ship. Now with Princess and with our Medallion class cruise experience, you really schedule your own boarding time and you arrive at the pier at that designated time and you board the ship. Really quite nice. Number two, in terms of ventilation, we've enhanced all the air filtration. A bit of it's a little bit beyond me, but the air in the public spaces and the cabins are replaced every 5 to 6 minutes throughout the cruise. So really nice. And then number three that really jumps out at me is, of course, we're providing and staying on top of all of the local port requirements and providing you with a nice, healthy, safety experience on shore as well. Working closely with the local authorities and with the local tour operators that we use. So very nice. And then if you have specific questions, you're welcome to go to the Princess website and under frequently asked questions, after you filtered a little bit from health protocols, you'll find answers to really all of your questions. If you have a question about vaccination requirements or a question about testing requirements before you cruise. And while we know most of them by heart, it's really best if we visit them, the questions and the answers in real time to make sure in case anything has changed. All right. We have a great flexible booking program right now with some relaxed policies, a wonderful Princess promise on board the ship that we're going to deliver you a great vacation and we do it right, and some enhancements to our Princess Vacation Protection program, which is really our insurance. All right, we're going to talk about Alaska vacationing, go through and walk through kind of a sample cruise tour, go through some frequently asked questions, and then about 9 or 10 o'clock when we break, we'll go to some live. No, I'm just kidding. We'll visit for about 30 minutes roughly. Alaska vacationing, it's really second to none. I think it's my favorite place to go. It's certainly my favorite destination to talk about. We know that the number one reason most of us want to go to Alaska is to see glaciers. And we really deliver that well. Our ships are purpose built for Alaska with ample public deck area. If you're cruising between Vancouver, British Columbia and Anchorage, and the port city for Anchorage is Whittier. Sometimes I use the two names, Whittier and Anchorage, interchangeably. But the port city between Vancouver and Whittier, if you're cruising on that 7-day cruise, we always offer two opportunities to see glaciers. One, Glacier Bay National Park. This is a scene of Glacier Bay National Park on the left-hand side. That's Margerie Glacier, deep into Glacier Bay. Margerie Glacier is a mile wide at the water. It's a tidewater glacier, which really means when the glacier caps, when that ice falls off, as it's moving forward, it crashes down into the water. So along with Glacier Bay National Park, we also visit northbound Cottage Fjord. If we're coming southbound instead, we visit an area called Hubbar Glacier. The real story there is we offer you two great glacier viewing opportunities. And then on all of our cruise tours, we offer you an opportunity to see Denali Park, or to stay around Denali Park, I should say, for one or more nights. And then in almost all cases, there's a tour into the park itself that's operated by the National Park Service, takes you into the park itself with providing you with a great Denali Park experience. Great. Wildlife comes out on all of our surveys as the number 3 reason we want to see glaciers. It's the only thing in Alaska that's really not something we can promise. They're not on our payroll, but we can just about guarantee you, starting in the upper left-hand corner going clockwise, that you're going to see caribou. Dall sheep on the far upper right-hand corner. When we're in Denali Park, almost for sure we'll see Dall sheep, named after General Dall. Moose and bear seem to be kind of the wild cards, but by all means, hopefully we'll be able to see them as well. The last time I cruised Alaska, I saw bear on the shore while we were in Glacier Bay National Park. And then in the center there, one of the Denali Big Five are wolves. And interestingly enough, I saw a wolf running through my own front yard here a few weeks ago as I was working during the day. So maybe we'll see wolves as well.
Hey, Joe, I just have to jump in too with the wildlife. I'm one of these people that they say, oh, look over there. And I look. In fact, we were in Anchorage and it was, they saw a bear. We were at the Mendenhall Glacier and I look and all I see are little leaves, shaking. And then it's like, oh, look over there, there's a whale. And finally in Alaska, on the way from the airport to the hotel in Anchorage, we saw a moose just hanging out there on the side of the road, tons of Dall sheep on the train ride up. And I did eventually see a bear. Actually, we had to stop the train on the tracks. So me, who has bad luck with wildlife, I even saw, they even offered themselves up so I could see them. So I think it's a good chance you're going to see some of this wildlife for sure.
And something you said really struck me, Gretchen, and it's something I mentioned when I think of it, but I urge everybody to bring their own binoculars with. If you're looking through your glasses and you see a bear or see a whale for that matter,
It's generally too late when you hand your binoculars over to your traveling mate and say, hey, take a look at this. It's almost too late. So have your own set of binoculars with you as well. Whales, chances are you'll see whales from the ship. As we're cruising, our onboard naturalists will be pointing out active wildlife, including whales. And again, just be ready. So they'll announce almost always during our cruise day, cruising through the Inside Passage, they'll announce that whales are coming up in a quarter of a mile or a half a mile, and to be ready for them. So just enjoy that. Wildlife is really one of the real highlights. When we cruise Alaska, wrapped up into everything we offer and kind of under this great big umbrella called North to Alaska is a very enriching program that we offer. Our aim is to bring the destination to you. So for example, when we arrive Glacier Bay National Park early in the morning, 5:30 or 6 in the morning, park rangers come out on a small boat, board our ship, and spend the entire day enjoying our customers and our customers enjoying them. You can see in the upper right-hand corner, you can almost have a private audience with a national park ranger. You'll see this young couple in the lower right-hand corner enjoying real life sled dog puppies. A real life dog musher boards the ship in Skagway on select sailings, brings his sled dog puppies with, conducts a little presentation. You have the opportunity to enjoy the sled dogs and take pictures with them. Libby Riddles, the first female Iditarod champion, boards our ship when we're in Juneau and conducts a presentation in the theater, in a jam-packed theater, I will say, and shares her and tells an incredibly compelling story about her own exploits in Alaska.
Hey, Joe, I have a quick question on that. With these, like when Libby Riddles comes on, do you have to have reservations for that, or you just kind of come in and sit down, you know what time it is? Or, I mean, can everybody attend, or is it kind of a first come, first serve?
It is first come, first serve.
Okay.
So on some days we may have more than one ship in Alaska or in Juneau on the same day. And so she would conduct a presentation probably around the noon hour on one ship and 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe on the next ship.
And so when the theater is full, it's full. So you want to make sure you get down there in plenty of time to get a good seat. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And it's really worth your while. Lots of other real life and true to Alaska presentations. Our onboard naturalists will conduct presentations throughout the week. We allow them a great deal of flexibility in what they present. something that they're an expert on. There might be a presentation just on wildlife. There might be one on the Inside Passage, and by all means, there might be one on glaciers too. But they tell really interesting stories. All right, a couple of things about Princess. We've been in business since 1965. I'm not sure if anybody in the crowd is old enough to remember the TV show The Love Boat, but we were the backdrop for the Love Boat. We're headquartered in Los Angeles. We've been cruising Alaska since 1969. There's three things that really stand out about what we offer in Alaska, and that's our dedicated rail service between Whittier, the port city, and Denali, and to one of our two lodges in the Denali area. And then also our employees. Most of our employees are local Alaskans. So when you go to the tour desk at the Denali Princess Wilderness Lodge and you're wondering about an activity to partake in and kind of deciding maybe between one or the other, you can just about be assured that those employees have experienced all of those. So they grew up there, they know it, and they really can deliver it on a personal basis. All right, so just to kind of share a few thoughts on what we offer in Alaska. So we offer, to begin with, sailings that we call Roundtrip Seattle Inside Passage itineraries, where you fly to Seattle, begin your trip, and by all means, Gretchen staff and at Bursch Travel, they can accommodate if you have customers coming from Minneapolis or maybe relatives coming from Denver or really from any place, they can facilitate and put all of that together for you. And you fly to Seattle, begin your cruise, departing Seattle for a 7-day cruise. We go as far north as Glacier Bay National Park, or an area called Endicott Arm to visit Dawes Glacier, and back to Seattle on a 7-day cruise, calling on the three top ports of call of Juneau, Ketchikan, and Skagway, with offering in this case one glacier viewing opportunity. And then I forgot my arrows here, starting in Seattle, going north, and then back, going north as far as Skagway and Glacier Bay, and then back to Seattle. And here's a great depiction of seeing Margerie Glacier in Glacier Bay National Park. You can see on the left-hand side of the picture, the glacier just calved. And the last time I was in Alaska, Margerie Glacier was heavily calving on the left side of the glacier itself. And we were able to see her calve several times. And on the right is Dawes Glacier, which is deep into Endicott Arm, which is essentially a fjord. So great opportunities to see glaciers. Then our Voyage of the Glaciers itinerary from Vancouver all the way north to Whittier, the port city for Anchorage. This is the itinerary you're on if you're doing what we call a cruise tour, which is cruising and then touring north of Anchorage into what we call the interior of Alaska. We leave Vancouver, British Columbia. We call on Ketchikan, Juneau, and Skagway. Again, really the top three ports of call. There's other opportunities too. And then a full day cruising and glacier viewing in Glacier Bay National Park and Hubbar, College Fjord if you're coming north. If you're coming south, Hubbar Glacier. And from here, we would begin the land part of our trip. So I'm going to walk through just kind of what we're going to see on a cruise tour. This is just another picture of a map showing the additional interior between Anchorage and Fairbanks. All right, so as a sample, we're going to begin our trip in Vancouver. And again, I keep referring to Gretchen and her staff. They're going to help you sort through all of this. There's quite a few different choices to make. You can cruise northbound like we're going to in my sample, but keep in mind you can come southbound as well. Okay. And at the end here, Gretchen and I are going to tell you which direction is the best one to go. All right. We cruised through the Inside Passage the entire first day of our cruise, the last day if we're coming south. It's a glorious day. tour the ship, get used to where everything's at on the ship, listen to the onboard naturalists as they're conducting shout outs from the bridge, maybe pointing out a local fishing village, hopefully those whales and other wildlife and other interesting sights. But it's an incredibly beautiful, relaxing day. From there, we call on Ketchikan. It's roughly 330 miles to get here. It's a wonderful and friendly port of call. We dock right downtown. You can walk off the ship just like you would get off on your dock on any Minnesota lake and walk up to your cabin. You just get off the ship, you're right downtown Ketchikan. Very friendly port, a town of about 12 or 14,000 people. It's known as the salmon capital of the world, and also well known, obviously, from my photos here of totem poles. So by all means, enjoy everything Ketchikan has to offer. Get back on the ship. Leaving Ketchikan is a likely place to see whales as well from the ship. Calling on Juneau, the next port of call. Juneau is, of course, Alaska's state capital. If you're going north like we are in our sample, it's your first opportunity to see a glacier. About 10 miles out of town is the famous Mendenhall Glacier. You can see it a couple of different ways. One way by taking a city bus out to the glacier and seeing it from the visitor center. The other, on the other end of the spectrum, is to take a helicopter tour, land on top of the glacier and experience it that way. On the right-hand side of my screen is Libby Riddles, the first female Iditarod champion, conducting a presentation, or here she's just entertaining a couple of people, but she probably either just finished or getting ready for her own presentation. And then this is the port of call where you can do a smaller boat whale watch experience as well. So by all means, enjoy everything Juneau has to offer. We cruise, oh, this is where there's great fishing shore excursions as well. Part of our North to Alaska program extends to shore as well. In the case of fishing excursions, if you choose one that's listed and advertised as a Cook My Catch shore excursion, it's one that's part of our North to Alaska program where you can catch a fish and you can have it prepared for you on the ship. You just tell the vendor, I would like to have this prepared on the ship, and enjoy it that way too. So I think my next picture here is a picture of a fish being prepared for dinner. So by all means, the last time I went, two of my sons and I caught salmon, and we requested it be prepared for us at dinner, and here was our own personal platter of fish. So looks pretty good about 6 o'clock in the evening, doesn't it? And then Skagway is our last port of call as we're going north. Skagway is the most famous, or has the most famous shore excursion in all of Alaska, the train ride, the White Pass Scenic Railway train ride, going up and following one of the two main paths the men took in 1898 to seek their fortune in gold. Skagway is just a wonderful port of call. It's very frontier looking with lots of boardwalk and a fun town to shop in too. Here's a picture leaving Skagway. This is just a personal photo from my own gallery. I don't take many personal photos myself, so this is a good one for me. It's a picture looking back out the rear of the ship about 30 minutes out of Skagway. I urge everybody to go up to one of the top decks to the rear of the ship, 30 minutes out of Skagway. This will be your view. And you'll be surrounded by people from Bursch Travel, because I tell everybody about this site. And the last time I cruised, again, it was 3 years ago with my family. We went up here and enjoyed it so much we missed dinner. So from here, we visit Glacier Bay National Park and College Fjord going north, or Hubbar Glacier coming south. Hubbar Glacier, if you're coming south and have an opportunity to see it, Hubbar Glacier is 6 miles wide at the water. It extends inland 76 miles. If if ice that formed at the beginning of the glacier 76 miles inland is the same ice that you see calving here, some of it will be. It's 400-year-old ice. That's how long it takes to extend the length of the glacier. Here's a couple of personal pictures of, or the one on the right of Margerie Glacier. And then from here, we arrive Whittier, the port city for Anchorage. In most cases, we're going to board the Princess Rail service right there at the pier. You walk off the ship, walk across the pier, across the train platform, board the train, and 8 hours later, you're at the Denali Princess Wilderness Lodge. There are some tour combinations on land that will take you on a motor coach and go south, or take you on a motor coach and go east. Probably 80% of the itineraries board the rail service and continue right to the Denali Lodge. So the tour, the cruise itinerary we just spoke of is the same for every single cruise tour. The land portion is where there are about 20 different variations. So of course, we won't go through all of those, but again, when you reach out to somebody from Bursch Travel, they'll be able to help you sort through the right combination and really what suits your purposes. You'll, in some cases, overnight in Anchorage, other cases, you go right through Anchorage on the train. You arrive at Denali Princess Wilderness Lodge, or the train station's a mile from the lodge. The photo on the right is the backside of the lodge. It sits on top of the Nanana River. If anybody wants to white rod or raft, this is where you can do it and have just an absolutely exhilarating experience. This is also the lodge where it's the staging point to take a tour into Denali Park. And there's a couple of different variations of that. And then our Mount McKinley Princess Wilderness Lodge is about 45 miles away. It doesn't have direct access to the park itself. It's tucked way back in the wilderness by design. The deck on the front of the lodge, on the right-hand side of the lodge there in my photo, is the only public lodge in Alaska that potentially has a view of Mount McKinley. And I made the mistake. I have to put a quarter in the cup. It's no longer called Mount McKinley. It's now called Mount Denali. So the name changed back to Mount Denali a couple of years ago. But the lodge or the mountain itself, when the weather clears, here's the view of Mount Denali. It's quite dramatic, it's quite rugged, and it's really quite exciting. If the weather has not cooperated during the day, you can leave a wake-up call at the front desk of the lodge. And if the weather cooperates at 3 o'clock in the morning, they will ring you and you can run down and see Mount Denali live. Just make sure you've got the right pajamas on when you come running down the hallway to see the lodge. If anybody has seen the TV show, TV reality show, Treehouse Masters, the group from Treehouse Masters was commissioned to build a treehouse, you can see it in this photo, on the grounds of our Mount McKinley Lodge. And if you're interested in watching the episode where they built this treehouse, it's season 9, episode 9. And the treehouse on the grounds likewise has a view or a potential view of Mount McKinley, Mount Denali. All right. And in some cases, when you arrive Whittier, you board a motor coach, go south to our Kenai Lodge. Later on in your land tour, you'll visit and have an opportunity to ride the train. You may go 8 hours east, essentially, to our Copper River Lodge, tucked way back in the wilderness. And in some cases, go all the way north to Fairbanks. So there's about 20 different combinations of the land itinerary. And that's really where most of your decision-making goes into, most of your effort in making that decision. So I'm going to share a couple, one closing thought. All of our ships, upon our return to service or when they return to service, are part of our medallion class cruising experience, where you essentially pre-register in the comforts of your home before you ever go to the pier. And then when you arrive the pier, you are ready to board the ship. You walk through security and board the ship. There's no real check-in at the pier any longer. So you'll download your and scan your passport. You'll need, of course, to have other information with you as it's described. All right. Some frequently asked questions and important items I'd like to kind of wrap up with before we go into real-time questions. But one is, I promised you that Gretchen and I would share with you when is the best time and when is the right, or what is the right direction to go. And by all means, I was kind of kidding around a little bit. Either direction's great. Each direction kind of has its own reasons to go that direction, and likewise with the time of year. If you go in the early part of the season, mid to early, or mid-May to late May, early June, there'll be still snow in the lower elevations, and it'll be cool and crisp out. It happens to be my personal favorite time to go. If you wait until mid to late June into July and early August, the temperatures are really 10 degrees warmer on average. And then if you go in late August into September, there's an opportunity for some fall colors too. So by all means, they're all great times. Whether you go northbound or southbound might be really decided by air schedules or something like that as well. They're both great directions to go. So. All right, and then packing and dress always causes a lot of anxiety when it comes to your Alaska trip. My wife and I were just talking about this at home last night about how to pack for an Alaska cruise. But by all means, during the day and on the ship throughout the day, you'll see people dressed just like you'd expect to see people dressed in Alaska: blue jeans and khaki pants and hooded sweatshirts and ones that say Princess across the top, and or maybe Alaska. But nonetheless, in the evening, 5 of the nights, the dress code and the spirit of the dress code is called smart casual, where everybody just plain looks nice. And then there are 2 nights that are called formal nights. And on a formal night, I'm going to let Gretchen help me out with the dress for the women, but for the men, you'd want to have certainly a coat and tie on, maybe a dark suit. And for women, Gretchen, why don't you help me out there a little bit on the formal?
Well, you can get by with a nice pair of slacks and a sweater or a blazer. I think that's, acceptable, or even, a nice dress. You certainly don't have to be the skirt and a sweater. You don't have to be dressed up in any kind of fancy cocktail attire at all. I think that's the beauty of Alaska cruises. It is pretty casual, and, the focus really is on the outdoors. And the one thing I always find is that it's hard to pack for Alaska because you have to bring everything. I mean, we were there and it was like one day it can be 70, 78. And then, we were at the Glacier Bay and it's cold and you've got I'm not kidding, like polar fleece on, your hat, your scarf, and your gloves or mittens. So that's why you have to kind of be strategic in what you're packing, and you don't want to have to bring like 3 different pair of dress shoes to go with this dress or that dress. So I think a nice dress, skirt, some slacks, sweater, you'll be fine for the formal.
So for that outdoor dress, just pack the dress in layers, right, Gretchen? So
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
the last time I was there in Alaska, it was just like Gretchen said, it was 80 degrees in Juneau. And the next day, I think it was the very next day in Glacier Bay National Park, we're pretty bundled up with a.
Yeah. And I've been at the glacier, and actually in our bathing suits, it was that warm. So, and then we went back to Seattle and we wore our warm clothes in Seattle. It's like Minnesota, layers is the way to go, and definitely a rain jacket. And I'm a big proponent of a rain jacket with a hood, because umbrellas get in everybody's way. So.
And then just as a little side note, pack a stocking cap and gloves. If you don't need them, that's great. But if you do, you'll be happy you have them. All right. So then once you've sat down with one of the staff with Bursch. And when I say sit down, you might do it virtually, you might do it over the telephone, etc. But after you've made a decision, after you've gone through the choices and kind of narrowed down your decision, make your booking, the additional spending you can expect after that are your shore excursions in the ports of call and any additional land excursions from the lodges that are not part of the tour description. And then in addition to that, dining in our specialty restaurants on the ship, and then our on the trains, and I think that's about all. That's additional spending to expect. And right now we have a great promotion. Well, actually it's pretty much ongoing, but there's a great promotion that includes unlimited Wi-Fi, a premier beverage package, and what we used to call gratuities, we now call them crew appreciation. So all of that's included. That's pretty standard. You can opt out of that if you want to, but otherwise it's a standard fare plan. And then currently through March 2nd, there's an additional couple of amenities. One is a built-in upgrade, and one is an evening of specialty dining for two. Make sure you have your passport. I really recommend that everybody take it out now and make sure it's good for at least 6 months past the end date that you're planning. So if you have a military heritage, by all means, let Bursch Travel know. They will ask you for a copy of your DD 214 form. We'll send that into Princess to see if you qualify for an added shipboard credit as our salute to the military. And then this is our Princess Plus promotion that I just described that includes Wi-Fi, crew appreciation, and our premier beverage package. So, there's another gorgeous picture of Margerie Glacier. You know, you really just can't get enough of glacier viewing when you're there. Really quite amazing. And to see glaciers calf is just so exciting. So Gretchen, did any questions come in the chat box by chance, or would you like?
None in the chat box, but if you want, I can unmute, and if people have any questions they want to ask, they go ahead. We've got a small group, so I don't think it'll be a tough, let's see here.
And I think I forgot to mention at the beginning, Alaska 2022, you know, in spite of everything that's going on in the world, is selling incredibly well. And of course, you know, there's really been 2 years without any Alaska cruising. But our 2023 is open for sale as well. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind too, if you're interested in looking further out.
Well, and I apologize. I thought I could unmute. It says ask to unmute, but it's not allowing me to do that. So if you have any questions, you can just, on the lower part of your screen, you'll see a chat box, and just open it up and type in a message if you have any questions at all. Otherwise, certainly reach out to your Bursch Travel or Pegasus Travel advisor. They're full of information, and trust me, they've booked and rebooked and booked some more on Alaska cruises with the continuation of you know, some of these pauses in sailing. But we're very confident that 2022 is going to be the year that we're going to see it all come back. And like Joe said, it's starting to fill up. So if you're thinking you want to get on an Alaska cruise this year, please don't wait too long, because space is filling. One good thing is that Bursch has blocked group space with Princess for the cruise tours that he was talking about, so that we got some early pricing, some good pricing, and we have availability. So check on that if you're interested in one of the cruise tours. But you can reach out to your advisor, email them directly. Otherwise, you can go on to our website to the contact us and select your location, and there's a contact us form that you can fill out, or the phone numbers are listed there too. So we are all offices are open in some abbreviated versions, so we do recommend that you contact them first instead of just swinging by, because we do have some limited hours in some of the locations, just with trying to adhere to some of the protocols and that sort of thing. But certainly here to help and answer any questions, and like Joe said, help you figure out what it is that you think you want to do. Now, a question came in: how many travelers on a ship, and what entertainment may happen on board? So Joe, I'll defer that to you on some.
Sure. We have a number of different ships in Alaska. The smallest of the group is Grand Princess at 2,600 passengers. The largest would be our newest ship, Discovery Princess, at 3,800. We expect at that time, hopefully, to be sailing at maximum, but I don't really know if that will be the case. But if the ships are filled to maximum, that's what they would be. Entertainment, there's Broadway type shows in our theater, comedy acts, smaller venue entertainment, musicians, and the like, along with other types of entertainment that are part of our North to Alaska program, where there'll be specific presentations that are based on the destinations or something that will really enrich your experience in Alaska. So that's some of the ideas. And lots of trivia games too. My oldest son always wins when we go to a trivia game on board the ship. Gretchen, you kind of froze up for a moment, or you did for me.
I was just saying, your son could join Bursch Travel trivia group. He and her husband and family love the games, and they tend to be winners too. So
there you go. There you go. That's good.
Yeah, lots of fun. On maybe a chilly day, and you can get back in, get on board, and get in one of the lounges and have some fun. So there's always something to do, or just sit on your balcony and enjoy the view. It's spectacular.
So on behalf of Princess, Gretchen, we'd like, and myself, we'd like to thank you for including us in your evening with your customers, and we appreciate the time.
Well, thank you, Joe. I don't see any other questions. And thank you for your time and great presentation. Again, Alaska is an exciting destination, and I don't want a lot of people's bucket lists from here. So as I mentioned, if you want to go this year, now's the time to start planning. So thank you, everyone. Have a lovely evening and stay warm. I know that's a kind of a stupid thing, like we're all going to go out in shorts and a t-shirt, like I have to tell you to stay warm, but take care. And again, thank you for joining us tonight. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you.